Good morning. Please, you are asked to open your cameras, adjust your setting. Thank you. Make sure that you're in the middle of the screen.
Good morning, Ms. Iman. Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good morning, Dr. Ala. How are you?
Fine, thank you. You know what? I'm really happy to see these students here. When you see them here today, you look like you see young gentlemen and young ladies. They are very, very cute. I like their photos here. They have a very nice presence. I'm looking to their photos when they are sitting there. Always, I feel like this junior ambassador program is really very amazing.
Yeah, sure. And they really did a great job in rehearsal. I saw them yesterday. They were amazing.
Yeah, and sometimes when you see them usually every day you see them in the school uniform or the sport clothes, and then today you see them very, very neat, very organized. It's like, oh my God, like young gentlemen, you are sitting with them, and they're very, very good.
Yeah. I'm really happy also to see visitors here, and I guess it's good to just introduce yourself for the visitors. I have just an ambassador, and I have Miss Fatma, and yes, and I have from the Greek embassy. Okay, so
we have Miss Iman. We have Miss Ekaterine from
Ekaterine, yeah, exactly. We met before in the session. So it would be great if we can just have this time before opening the ceremony to just introduce yourself, okay, so that the students will be aware who's here in this meeting. Unmute the mic.
Hello. Hello, it's good to be back. I'm Dr. Ekaterine Klepusniotou. I'm an associate professor of cognitive neuroscience and neuropsychology in the University of Leeds in the UK. And I'm currently on leave, and I'm in Qatar. And in Qatar, I am the president of the education subcommittee of the Greek Society of Doha. I met you because we were invited. We were very lucky to be invited by you to give you a presentation about the contribution of ancient Greece to the modern world. So that's how I met you the first time. And I'm very, very happy and honored to be invited back to witness this beautiful event that that you're putting together. So I really look forward to hearing your speeches and participating in this event. Thank you.
It's our pleasure to have you here in this conference.
Would you mind me going next?
Yes, please. Anyone, it's fine.
Hello, everybody. My name is Fatma Hassan, and I am the event and school coordinator for A Flower Each Spring program, which is actually one of the first NGO in Qatar, environmental NGO. And I'm also a program coordinator for Friends of Nature. And basically what I do is create programs for children related to environmental awareness. And I use these programs through hands-on activities and outdoor activities to educate you children in regards to the environment. And so that's what I do. That's who I am. Hi.
It's our pleasure to have you here also.
Pleasure.
Okay, shall I go?
Yeah, sure, Dr. Ala.
Okay, my name is Ala Sheikh. I am working at Hamad General Hospital. My main specialty in rehabilitation is occupational therapy. We are working to help people in order to regain their functional abilities, maintain busy with their occupation, getting back to their normal life after they are exposed to any illness or disease or stress or any situation. So we are supporting people to be independent, to go back to life with their optimum level of function, with their best abilities and capabilities.
That's great. Thank you, Dr. Ala. And Dr. Ala is also member of our PTA. Okay, so he's always supporting the school in such events. Okay. His Excellency, the Ambassador. It's muted. Unmute.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this very important program. I'm Ambassador of Nepal to the state of Qatar, and I'm very excited to be with the children in this very exciting Junior Ambassadors meeting. Thank you very much.
The pleasure is ours. Thank you so much for having such time in your schedule, busy schedule, to just attend our conference.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So here is the GAC program.
Ms. Sumaya, can you read it, please?
Okay, yeah. So we will start with Miss Asma, the chairperson from Atamid campus, will introduce the event. Later, we will have Quran reading. Later, we will have the Qatar national anthem, then the opening word by Mr. Yusuf Al-Jassim. Presenter will call for the opening ceremony. So the chairperson will start calling the delegates. First, we will have the first 10 countries according to the alphabetical order. Then we have Mr. Matthew Assad, principal word. Then we have our guest, Ms. Fatima Hassan, events and school coordinator in Qatar Foundation. Then we have a short video done by our students from the 3 campuses, talking about their opinion about education in a post-COVID world. Then we will resume with the second 10 countries. Then we have Dr. Ala Walid word. Then we will resume with the last 8 countries. Then we have Miss El-Katrina's word. Then we have the closing speech, the announcing of results.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Maya. His Excellency, the Ambassador of Nepal, would you like to have like a small speech for our students so that we can add it to our schedule? It's muted. His Excellency, it's muted. The mic is mute.
Yeah, I will be happy to share a few words with the students if there is such a schedule for me.
Yes, there is. There is.
Yeah, for sure. It's our pleasure.
No problem. Ms. Maya, please adjust the schedule. Okay. And
okay,
just,
I will.
Yeah.
I will. Okay.
Okay. We can start until Mr. Yusuf come. Okay, I'm sure he's on his way. Okay, so please we can proceed because we're
yes.
Out of time.
We are late.
Yes,
Asma, if you are ready, please start. Asma Al-Marzouqi, the chairperson, are you ready?
Yes.
Yalla, Asma.
Welcome, everyone. We are glad to have you all here attending the JAC event for 2021. The purpose of education is to mold us to be our best self. And while COVID-19 has left 1.2 billion children out of classrooms, e-learning has made its way into our lives. Qatar has changed a digital platform called Mazid that provides interactive resources for children. This platform includes, but is not limited to, interactive books, textbooks, video, audio, and many other materials to enhance education. The most interesting part about this platform is that an internet connection is not required. In addition to this, Qatar has also introduced Q-learning to facilitate distance learning. Furthermore, for students with no access to the equipment necessary for e-learning, the ministry has provided computers, tablets, laptops, and more to furnish their education. Online learning has shown to increase retention of information and is less time-consuming. And Qatar has done its part in ensuring that young minds are always sharp and dedicated. Although e-learning was unexpected and brought a lot of challenges, it has opened the minds of students and the world in general to a whole new perspective in the areas of student skills, research, problem solving, team building, technology, and much more. Students were forced to learn many new skills, and this has improved generally on how the students approach their education and life. Thank you. Now we have Quran reading with Bilal Kadan from Athami branch.
السلام عليكم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى.
Now let's all stand for the Qatar national anthem.
قسما 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 بمن رفع السماء قسما بمن نشر الضياء قطر ستبقى حرة تسمو بروح الأوفياء سيروا على نهج الأولى سيروا وعلى ضياء الأنبياء قطر بقلب سيرة عز وأمجاد الإباء قطر الرجال الأولين حماتنا يوم النداء وحمائم يوم السلام جوارح يوم الفداء قطر الرجال الأولين حماتنا يوم النداء وحمائم يوم السلام جوارح يوم الفداء قسما 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 بمن رفع السماء قسما بمن نشر الضياء قطر ستبقى حرة تسمو بروح الأوفياء.
Delegates, this is the JAC Conference 2021, organized by Manar International School. You are welcome to the 9th Council. I'm Asma Al-Marzouki from Manar International School at the Mead campus, and I will be chairing your council during the conference. Delegates, the council is now called to order. The council has officially begun. Before we move into procedures, I would like to remind you of the rules and procedures of this conference and council. Delegates, you are all reminded that chewing gum is strictly prohibited during the council sessions. All mobile communication devices must be always turned off during the sessions. You will have time to use your communication devices when mentioned. You are also reminded that you must abide with formal wear and not to always communicate with any delegate during debate. Communication between delegates can only happen with the use of private chat. Any violation to the rules and procedures of any council will result in you receiving a first warning. After the second warning, any violation will result in clipping your badge. Please raise your hand if you have something to say and wait till your name is called. Keep your cameras on during the whole time. Thank you. Delegates, we will now proceed with the opening speeches by delegates. May the first 10 delegates of Afghanistan, Algeria, Australia, Bangladesh, Brazil, Bulgaria, Chile, Egypt, Finland, France. Be prepared. Delegate of Afghanistan, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear Chairperson, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Afghanistan's Ministry of Education faces the mammoth task of delivering education to over 9 million learners during the COVID-19 school closures. To control and reduce the spread of the virus, the MOE, in consultation with the government, decided not to start the new school year of the 23rd of March 2020. The government also decided to close all public and private institutions of higher education. The initial closures were for over a month, 14th of March to 17th of April, which were then extended to one more month until the end of May, which also coincided with the month of Ramadan, the Muslims' holy month of fasting, 23rd of April to 23rd of May 2020. The MOE was quick to adapt to new approaches, supported by its national and international partners, to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on the education system. Under the slogan of Education Continues, the MOE has decided to deliver education through two options. First one is to distance learning via the internet and radio and television broadcasting. And the second one is to carry on learning schools in smaller groups under the health guidance of the Ministry of Public Health. The Delegates of Afghanistan recommend that to reinforce distance learning and hybrid learning systems in terms of COVID-19 and beyond in Afghanistan. It also resonates with the national agenda on learning technologies for more accessible education. Thank you.
Delegates of Algeria, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Ladies and gentlemen, a first COVID-19 case was registered in Algeria on 25th February 2020, which caused schools to close completely on March 12th. National Federation of Parents Association immediately organized distance learning for all students and expressed their concerns to the Ministry of National Education. They said that not everyone is lucky enough to have computer or internet connection to attend online courses, and if so, there are some students who live in large families, which makes it difficult to find a quiet spot in the house. Since Algeria had an experience in distance learning during the Civil War 1991, 2002, where there was a TV station that focused on distance learning for the bachelorate. Only the delegates of Algeria recommended the government reconsider broadcasting classes on national TV, not only for bachelorate, but for all grade levels, and provide them with fixed schedules so they don't miss any classes. Also provide them with internet connection and computers to do their online tests. Thank you.
Delegate of Bangladesh, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear Chairperson, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, a field led by the UNICEF has shown that children are facing mental and psychological discomfort as their normal childhood is during the current pandemic. Children are being kept at home for a long time and are unable to socialize with other children due to COVID-19 restrictions. In addition to that, the largest issue for the education system in Bangladesh is the overcrowded classes that made the situation worse after the pandemic. In order to continue learning, as a junior ambassador, I think that education and assessment system now need to be reformed to help them get relief from the existing academic pressure. Also, since most of the time schools are closed, there is no access to the internet and today's technology because of poverty. We all need to help children in Bangladesh to have a good quality of education. Thank you, everyone.
Delegates of Australia, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear Chairpersons, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, as this world pandemic started, the Australian Health Protection Principal Committee released health advice in relation to reducing the potential risk of COVID-19 transmission in schools. This practical guidance and advice have been prepared for school leaders engaging with children, parents, teachers, and support staff to reduce those risks. The Australian government did several research to examine the impact of remote learning from home on educational outcomes for vulnerable groups of children. But across Australia, numbers of young children are affected, and their grades had regressed. It has even led by academic failure and poor outcomes, and having gaps in many important skills. As a junior ambassador, I think that it is hard for children to follow up and concentrate online, especially with a long teaching day. We started to get bored, also after spending too much time in front of the computer. We started having blurry vision and headaches. I would really recommend schools to provide us with the support we need to continue learning. It is our future and we want to keep our trip of learning, but we miss the fun too. I think now that it is the quality of education, not quantity time. This pandemic did not only affect our grades, it has been also harsh on us. Please feel us. Thank you.
Delegates, please keep your cameras open. Delegates of Brazil, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear chairpersons, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, in Brazil too, schools were closed and 47 million students are trying to adapt to a new routine of distance education because of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, unequal access to computers and digital tools has made it hard for teachers to enroll and teach low-income students who are already the most likely to drop out of school. Some families cannot afford buying computers, paying for the internet fees too. Also, sometimes it is hard when those children have no computer skills. Like the rest of the world, Brazil's main attention was on the challenges imposed on health systems, of course, but education systems are also directly affected. It was sometimes hard to adapt to a new situation, but this pandemic is not only affecting the education process, studies prove that children's psychology and behavior are grandiose. As a child myself, I need to say that spending too much time at home, not seeing our friends at or outside the school is hard for us. Many children like me are showing sadness, irritation, and frustration, even feeling angry. We really need to provide the students with support and assistance to adapt the situation. We miss our life at school. We miss seeing each other's smiles.
Delegates of Chile, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Chairpersons, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce the beautiful country of Chile. It is the countries that border the capital and largest city in Chile is Santiago as far as primary and secondary school mandatory for all Chileans, which is very important. We are wondering what happened to Chilean education under the new pressing. We all know that COVID-19 pandemic implemented by Chilean government during COVID-19 pandemic aimed to guarantee the availability of infrastructure for remote education, technological tools like ICT scholarships for everyday educational level, and free access to Google Suite, as well as several platforms for early childhood internet access. As a delegate of Chile, I believe that Chile did a great job and that it works on making technology available for everybody because it is not the case now. The socio-economic problems in
Delegate of
children from one
your
of
time
their
limits.
basic rights.
Please read your closing remarks. Delegate of Egypt, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear chairpersons, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, ever since the COVID-19 virus hit Egypt, the Egyptian government has undertaken several strict measures to prevent the rapid spread of the disease. Since March 2020, the Egyptian government decided to shut down all schools and universities and have all teaching undertaken virtually. Online portals were used to upload all the teaching materials for students to submit their work. While the increased use of technology across the different educational levels represents a milestone in Egypt's strategy to improve its educational systems, it also gives rise to various issues and challenges, namely legal ones. All those teaching materials being offered online, it has become more accessible to a wider audience. This places such material at higher risk of being misused or reduced illegally. As an Egyptian ambassador, although e-learning has been introduced as a temporary solution, though it has been proven to be a success and it's likely going to be remain part of education systems even once the pandemic ends. So laws needs to be uploaded to conform with the new needs, as government should work on making new laws that regulate e-learning platforms, protect students' data, and guarantee the intellectual property rights of teachers and educational institutions are preserved. Thank you.
Delegate of Finland, you have 1.5 minutes to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear chairpersons, distinguished guests, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, although the absence of in-person lessons can be somewhat compensated using the online platforms and other technologies, access to the necessary digital devices is not equally distributed across the population. In particular, the students from underprivileged backgrounds who lack the means to access to these devices may be severely affected by the COVID-19 crisis, increasing learning inequalities as a result. Fortunately, the Finnish government is giving help to all its citizens by creating a wide range of remote learning solutions available for free to help teachers and students survive the coronavirus pandemic. As a Finnish ambassador, I am here to share our success and share our objectives of solving the global learning crisis and ensuring a sustainable future for everyone beyond the pandemic, also showing our readiness to make partnerships between Finnish and like-minded education enthusiasts around the globe. Thank you.
Delegate of France, you have 1.5 minutes to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, France is considered the largest country in Western Europe, with gateways between the European continent and the transition of school for closure due to COVID-19 was a huge challenge for education in France. Teachers panicked, parents were in an uproar. No one looked to our government to find their government was struggling just the same. The people were teachers were bombarded with an overload of work that came with salary and beneficial cuts. And students were expected to be fully technologically equipped for their online classes. Although many people and parents were not teachers, even parents were not able to afford the same for all their children at the same time. Protesting like the government finding a new solution will save the jobs, support schools on getting new equipment and hire more staff to lessen the load. And was tried to do by impossible teacher education wise. Now,
Delegates, you have a time limit. Please reach your closing remarks.
taxes are participating with government could have been used as a temporary solution for the whole education.
Now, Mr. Yusuf Al Jassim will give a word. Now, Mr. Yusuf Al Jassim will give a word.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. سعادة السفراء المحترمين والضيوف الكرام، السيدات والسادة، أسعد الله صباحكم بكل خير. أسعد بتشريفكم لحضوركم مؤتمر السفراء الصغار، ذلك الحدث السنوي الذي تنظمه من مدارس المنار الدولية للسنة التاسعة على التوالي، حيث تفتخر مدرستنا بالسعي والدائم تنمية القدرات طلابنا وتحفيزهم على التواصل والتعرف على ثقافات دول العالم المختلفة في ظل الحفاظ على هويتنا العربية الإسلامية. ويعتبر هذا الحدث جزءا من الدعم العالمي والثقافة والتربوي العالمي الثقافي التربوي التي تقدمها مدارس طلابنا لتعزيزهم وثقتهم بأنفسهم في طريق النجاح والتفوق نحو المستقبل الأفضل بإذن الله. فأهلا وسهلا بكم والتوفيق لطلابنا هي السنوات القادمة إن شاء الله. وشكرا.
Mr. Matthew Michael Rose will give a word.
Good morning, delegates. Today's JAC conference is unlike any in past years. While past topics have tasked delegates with research on world problems they may not have previously known much about, this year's topic asks you to think critically about a real-world problem that has been part of all of your lives over the past 18 months, access to education. The real and ongoing global pandemic is the reason why we are meeting today over Zoom, instead of face-to-face in a banquet hall. The question you must address today is what access to education will look like in a post-COVID world. During periods of online and hybrid learning, each and every one of you became familiar with the limitations as well as the amazing potential of the technologies that connect us and allow us to share ideas. You took classes on Teams, chatted with friends on Discord, and may have even participated in free open courses from around the world to follow your individual interests and passions. Today, you will show us your vision for how access to information and education can be provided to the broadest possible section of humanity, taking its place behind food and shelter as the modern world's most basic human need. I welcome you once more to the 2021 JAC for all Manar International Schools, and I eagerly anticipate hearing everything you have to share with us today. Thank you.
Ms. Fatma Hassan, Events and School Coordinator, Flower Each Spring Program, member of Qatar Foundation and Program Coordinator, Friends of Nature, will give a word.
Hello, everybody. Hello to all the delegates. The pandemic has caused all countries, including Qatar, to adapt strict quarantine and physical distance measures, causing a great effect on all ways of life across the world, including education, as schools, parents, and students have to adapt to the new norm. This surely has resulted in major changes to how we live and interact with others. To some, this is the new norm. To some, this is the new norm. Adaptation, evolution. To others, it is still difficult and tiring. But how about to the younger generation, observing the world with a fresh eye? How quick are they to adapt? Looking towards the future, what are the long-term impact on them, their skills, their overall development or lack of? And from what I can see with this panel, you children are doing great. So it's not much of a concern. Education has been disrupted by the pandemic. Working from home has not been quite easy since our NGO, educates children through hands-on activities and outdoor discussions. But we are very quick to learn, and we're very, very lucky to be living in an era where technology is in our hands. However, it is not just about having the technology, but how to make the best use of them. For us, we did not want to create a physical classroom online, but find ways to catch the children's attentions, creating discussions where they can share their feelings, creativities, and opinions with one another in order to help them with their well-being during this stressful time. Of course, we've all had to rely on video communication programs such as Zoom and Skype, using curriculum panels, platforms such as Chalk, game-based learning platforms such as Kahoot and Quizbee, and of course, as some of the children have mentioned, the Mazad and the government distance learning services like Q Learning all these have been very useful in helping to support educators staying online and on track and adapting to the new norm. And sometimes we do face technical errors and hiccups, but technology will definitely improve and redefine within time. And we educators and schools need to plan effectively and ensure the right standards are being taught to the students. Thank you.
Now let's see education in a post-COVID world from students' perspective video. Delegates, please keep your cameras on.
Online learning was a new experience, learned a lot about it, but still it's not fair because some students can't do online because they can't maybe like purchase computers or devices or pay for the internet bills, and we miss each other's smiles and faces, so let's hope that we can go back to school.
Hi, my name is Sadiqa Salhani from grade 6B. Today I'll be talking about how online courses changed my life. Well, the coronavirus changed my life in many different ways. It made me much more confident of myself, and it makes me much more responsible and how I should take care of my classworks and homeworks during the classes. Also, the positive impact was to improve my research skills, and I get all of my responsibility on my own. I feel like it's changed mostly of my life, and I feel like it's helped me a lot with my confidence. Thank you.
My name is Mubarak Al-Utaibi and I'm from grade 6A. I just want to say that in my online classes, I've learned how to be more responsible and how to be able to be confident of myself. And I broke the barriers when I used to be shy in class, to raise my hand and answer questions. But now I feel way more confident. Online classes give a lot of advantages, but in the same time they give a lot of disadvantages. But I just want to say that online classes don't mean that you don't learn. You still learn, but in a different way.
What is the impact of technology during online learning?
One was that transportation was decreased because you're at your home, and two was connecting with your teacher because it's easier to connect with your teacher online.
How did you organize your time at home during the COVID-19 pandemic?
I split each lesson into 45 minutes each, and after each lesson I either get a 10-minute break or a 5-minute break.
I'm Layan Al-Aqad from Manar International School, and today we'll be talking about the coronavirus and online studying. So as we all know, corona is a worldwide pandemic that is spreading like wildfire all around the world in all the countries. And because of this, online studying is now the most predominant solution possible. Studying for me has been harder than in class for sure, and that is because we are not in direct contact with our teachers or classmates. But for sure, this has been protecting us and helping us in several ways, because some students are not capable of going to school every day, so online studying is another way that helps them and also protect us. So always be sure to stay safe.
Ever since COVID-19 came and online schools began, it has been very helpful for us to use, and we could protect ourselves from the COVID-19 diseases. But it cannot replace the fun that we had in schools. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jude Majar from grade 4A, and the new responsibilities I learned during the online were to look after my sisters while my parents were away and to concentrate really hard in class.
COVID-19, also known as the coronavirus, is a deadly disease that has been spreading all around the world for the past 2 years, speedily and rapidly. This disease affected me egregiously, badly, and beneficently. This disease had taught me lots of new things and put me in new experiences. We had to go through online learning for educational purposes. Online learning taught me new things. For example, how to use technology more and technological skills. It also taught me how to communicate with my classmates better and with my teacher. However, we have some disadvantages for using online learning. We have been through abundant problems because of the internet connections trying to hear the teachers, and they have been through tough times trying to hear us. COVID-19 and the pandemic have raised the issue of health equity and discrimination. Nevertheless, it has its advantages and benefits. Thank you.
The fatal virus that is known as COVID-19 has made me go through a new experience. Education is indispensable, that is why it could not be stopped. Here, online learning began. It has its advantages as well as its disadvantages. I had a difficult time adapting to online learning. Internet wasn't always the best. In addition, teachers couldn't hear me clearly and their voices lacked often. Although it has its acceptables, you can enjoy your studies from the comfort of home. People got to experience new things while getting to online learning. In my opinion, face-to-face learning can teach students working in groups and being patient. Overall, online learning can be seen as the safest option for all parents, students, and teachers.
What was the positive impact of using technology during online learning?
It helps us become better people and understand how to become patient. It also taught us how teachers really like to get engaged in a way of talking to us.
I learned that online is an opportunity for me to learn how to use better technology in a very certain way. And when it's time for a break, I've learned that I can learn more and Google and that I can regain my health and energy when I eat. Thank you.
Online learning makes us have more responsibilities. We kept learning, we spent more time with families, we learned how to use technology in a better way and to make our life more easier, and we've been more creative.
What was the positive impact of using technology during online learning?
Technology made things easier. It made it also simple for us to communicate. You could also share screen on technology programs such as Teams and Zoom.
Did you have any role in supporting your younger siblings in attending their lessons or understanding their tasks?
Yes, I open the computer for them and I join their class and I give them some of my materials and help them understand their homework and tests.
Hi, my name is Faltuna Mahi and I'm in grade 6B. So today I'm going to talk about how pandemic changed my life and how it changed my learning school life. So I used to be not so much organized and not so independent in classes, but when pandemic hit, I got so independent, so organized, and I became more strong and confidence came to me and I became I feel like it's not like the old me. So learning became so hard at first, but then it was like so easy because I used to be shy in school, and I used to be like not answering that much. But then when I became an online, I started like talking with my friends. I started like being so much close to them. I started answering. I started like to feel like I'm safe and I'm like in school with my teachers and with my friends. Thank you.
We will resume the conference with the 10 last countries, with the 10 second countries. Delegate of Greece, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear Chairperson, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, starting from April 2021, Greece's schools reopened after a 5-month closure with precautions including virus tests for students and teachers twice per week. But with the country still in the grip of the pandemic, the reopening has worried some health experts. Greece also followed remote learning, and this has really affected their level. Since students are not equipped personally for home learning and their parents are not able to manage or be as supportive. As a junior ambassador, I know it is hard to continue learning under those new challenges. But we need to adapt by being responsible, mainly to start planning a new routine for your day. Make sure that you have your to-do list daily. Physical activities are important too for your body and brain. Also, the digital platforms provide an opportunity for us to keep learning, take a part in play, and keep in touch with our friends. But increased access online brings risks for children's safety, protection, and privacy. Make sure to use it properly and to inform your parents and discuss with the advantages and the disadvantages of the internet so you know how it works. What you need to be aware of and what appropriate behavior looks like on the platforms they use. Thank you.
Delegates, please turn on your cameras. Delegate of India, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear chairpersons, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, India is a rapidly changing country in which exclusive high-quality education is of utmost importance for its future purpose. In India, 320 million students have been affected by COVID-19 school closures. Online teaching. This ignores Indians' immense digital divide with embedded gender and class divide. A recent news report stated only 12.5% of students had access to smartphones. Furthermore, most teachers are ill-equipped for online teaching. As a delegate of India, I recommended to open source digital learning solutions be adopted so teachers can conduct teaching online. Secondly, it is most important to establish quality assurance mechanisms and offered by India HEIS as well as e-learning platforms. Moreover, many e-learning players of certifications, methodology, and of courses may differ across different e-learning platforms. But continuing education amid school closures had also taught us an important lesson about the role of community in teaching our children. It takes a child to raise If it takes a village to raise a child, it must empower the village to teach the child.
Delegate of Jordan, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear chairpersons, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, when COVID-19 first began spreading, Jordan was one of the first countries in this region to switch in March to distance learning for its 2.5 million kg. Grade 12 students prior to COVID-19, 16% of students in Jordan reported not having internet access at home. One-third didn't have a computer for schoolwork according to the World Bank. Around 1 in 6 students never logged into their SEC platform during the spring semester according to the Education Ministry. The delegate of Jordan recommends the government to first provide students with devices to join the online platform. Second, the Ministry of Education needs to collaborate with telecommunications companies to put special offers of internet packages for students to use the access to the educational platform. Finally, teachers should not load the students with assignments and take into consideration the load on working parents. Thank you.
Delegate of Lebanon, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now. Delegate of Lebanon, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Distinguished delegates, dear ladies and gentlemen, Forum, Lebanon is ranked globally as science education and as the 10th best overall. Since the pandemic, more than 1.2 million children in Lebanon have been 18-year Lebanese children have received an estimated maximum of 11 weeks of education. Even before the pandemic, the report shows that rising inequality since the onset of the economic a gap in access to quality learning among Lebanon's poor children. 55% of Lebanese families are now living in poverty, with even higher rates among Palestine 70% and Syrian refugees 90%. Children access to an education as many families cannot afford learning. As a delegate of Lebanon, I recommended that urgent actions must be taken to ensure an entire generation does not lose the opportunity to get education. School should open as soon as it is
Delegates, you have exceeded your time.
children to be
Your
enabled
closing remarks.
access to education regardless of their background or generation.
Delegate of Iraq, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear chairpersons, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Iraqi authorities, with the help of UNICEF and other organizations such as UNESCO, have contributed to Education for All (EFA) policy in Iraq. And with the spread of coronavirus, other measures included the closures of schools to assure health and well-being for students. Since over 11 million children have been affected by school closures in Iraq, technological solutions are being offered. Students spend their days at home, cut off from school and their friends and the learning they enjoyed. In rural areas, internet connections are sparse, and students share a computer with their siblings. Current school closures pose a threat to even more students dropping out of school, especially in rural areas. Iraq's Ministry of Education has provided learning through an online platform and television. Through e-learning, the University of Karbala has managed to establish a design base for education policies to transition e-learning completely. The platform includes lectures which are updated regularly and the section for electronic exams. The delegate of Iraq recommends that Iraq needs to protect its learning for its poorest children now and use innovative education delivery approaches to reduce learning and loss and build a resilient education system to ensure for all children to learn in Iraq. Thank you.
Delegates, please keep your cameras on. Delegate of Libya, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear Chairperson, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, today a short speech on Libya and its education in a post-COVID world will be by the Mediterranean Sea to the north, Egypt to the east, Chad to the south, Niger to the southwest, Algeria to the west, and Tunisia to the northwest. COVID-19 pandemic had implemented national school closures by March getting reduced exposure in their classes, causing a negative effect on the learning process and exam performance. Several teaching academies in Libya have started online learning by using the academic online platforms to stay connected with their students. Members choose the available online resources to complete their teaching tasks. Schools use Microsoft Office, Microsoft Teams, Microsoft OneDrive, Microsoft Class Notebook, and other programs and applications. As a delegate of Libya, I recommended that even as fear spread, the education community in Libya must wonder what steps should be taken to maintain the education during epidemics and viruses. For instance, during exams and tests, students should come to school and make sure they wear a mask or a face shield and sanitize their hands when they are done and before going to school. If there are no exams, it's okay to study online with teachers while teaching. However, this type of solution still needs many improvements. At last, it was such a pleasure to be with all of you today. Thank you so much.
Delegate of Madagascar, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear chairpersons, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Madagascar is a country in East Africa. It is the world's 51st most populous country with over 28.3 million citizens. On March 4th, Madagascar presented the results of the study, Analysis out of school children data and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in Madagascar, conducted within the framework of the Global Out of School Children Initiative, OOSCI, with 258 million children, adolescents, and youth out of school worldwide. Many countries are still struggling with the lack of education. Results of the study presented in Madagascar. The percentage of children not in school by level, preschool under 5 years old, 40% of students, primary 22% to 27% of students, lower secondary 30% to 40% of students, upper secondary more than 60% of students. Madagascar is making a significant progress in achieving its Education for All initiative, EFA, goals of providing universal primary education. It has recently decided to initiate far-reaching reforms in its primary and secondary education cycles. As a delegate of Madagascar, I recommend that Madagascar should build more schools to educate many other people and keep them knowledgeable. Thank you all for your patience.
Delegate of Morocco, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor to be here. COVID world will be presented. Morocco, a North African country bordering the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. The capital in December 2019, a local epidemic disease appeared in China for has been difficult for this pandemic. In Morocco, schools were closed from March to September 2020, disrupting children's education in classrooms. Morocco had to do something to preserve education. In that case, the Moroccan government had to suspend all classes. The government therefore recorded the lessons and broadcasted them on television. According to these rules, and as a delegate of Morocco, I recommend that Morocco was able to pass this critical period successfully. However, this kind of solution still the main advantage of online learning are making your studies flexible, offering a personalized learning experience, and helping. I wish you all a very genuine day.
Delegate of Nepal, You have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear Chairpersons, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 related changes and challenges in Nepal have a drastic impact on the career progression of students. Outside the major cities, Nepal lacks dependable internet services to support education, which frequently requires access to transmission of large files and audiovisual materials. Most teachers and students do not have sufficient logistical experience and knowledge to participate in online classes. Student skill development, research activities, and live interactions with other individuals are being affected. Even though Nepal's education system is struggling to adapt to the transformation of teaching methodologies in the wake of pandemic. In addition to that, several activities organized by UNESCO to train teachers on alternative teaching methods and to enhance their knowledge and skills using ICT tools and learning portals so that they can use various distance teaching modes. The Delegate of Nepal recommends that Nepal should ensure the mechanisms are proactively put in place to embrace new educational system opportunities and technologies to guarantee a regular supply of high-quality physicians capable of both responding effectively to any future pandemic and satisfying the future nature healthcare needs. Thank you.
Delegate of Pakistan, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear Chairpersons, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan was among the first countries in the world to institute widespread school closures because of COVID-19. Although only some schools initiated online learning, UNICEF advocated with the Ministry of Elementary and Secondary Education Department (KP) to adopt contingency measures in educational institutions. With the aid of UNICEF, Provincial Institute for Teacher Education standardized homework assignments has been developed for all grade levels and uploaded them on the official website. During the first phase of school closures, Pakistan launched a teleschool initiative in collaboration with leading EdTech providers to broadcast free learning content to all grades. After briefly opening for 6 weeks, schools were closed in November. In December, Pakistan launched its first radio school to expand student outreach in response to the second school closure. Through virtual blackboards, online live classes, and learning management systems, distance learning programs have provided an opportunity to surpass many challenges and enable uninterrupted access to resources. The Delegate of Pakistan recommends that the government models its next step for educational sector. Mass vaccinations and testing must be rolled out to but that future disruptions do not push learning towards an irrecoverable collapse. Thank you.
Dr. Ala Walid al-Sheikh Hussain will give a word.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Mr. Ambassador, Ms. Catherine, Ms. Iman, Mr. Youssef, and everybody. My greetings to all young gentlemen and ladies. Really, I do appreciate all the efforts that you did. You did an amazing job here, and I'm really very impressed of what I can see here. In fact, you did not leave a lot for us to say. So we have to say only just little things, and maybe from my profession as practice. Honestly, in this, I can say pandemic, we learned a lot of lessons. We learned some lessons that is really good for our health, for our hygiene, but the big lesson that we have learned, like we as a human being, we still are human beings. Even there's robotics, even there is electronics, there's online education, but nothing can replace our human relation, our interaction, our life. And this is built a lot of lights on our even family and social life that really we have sometimes ignored before, because we think like, okay, technology can replace this, but it's not. Honestly, we need to learn these lessons, how much maybe that pandemic affected our life in the countries, but also we have learned a lot of good lessons that really we need to benefit from. And inshallah, it will help us for better life in the future. And that's really what we are aiming to. The other thing that really I would want to say from my job, like we as a human beings, occupation, activity, work, leisure is the core of our life. Whatever is happening, we sit at home because of some situation, we stay restricted in some offices, but don't forget to maintain your activity. Don't forget to maintain there's something that you should work. Don't forget also there's some leisure and habit time that should be time management. Organize your schedule, organize your life will be a very vital thing in order to make your life much easier, maintain your health, maintain your psychological situation, and really will affect positively in our life all over. And inshallah, for better future for ourselves and our new generation. Thank you so much for this chance in order to present with you today.
Now we will resume with the last 8 countries. Delegate of Palestine, you have 1.5 minutes to say your opening speech. Time starts now.
Dear chairpersons, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic is having a very significant impact on the education system and on the well-being and learning of children and young people in the state of Palestine. In Palestine, containment measures have included the closure of schools since 6 March, with the ministry putting in place several measures to support distance learning. The Ministry of Education is currently preparing the launch of a Facebook page named Ta'amal to bridge the distance gap with the students and receive feedback on their progress as well as their challenges during this outbreak. It also launched an e-learning portal to reach all the grade students in Palestine. The obstacles to e-learning in Palestine involve infrastructure and weak internet networks, and insufficient awareness among students and their families of the importance of e-learning. In addition, the low accessibility to online material and availability of computers to some students, especially those in the most vulnerable areas in Palestine. The delegate of Palestine recommend that the COVID-19 outbreak is imposing to explore even further innovative solutions to deliver new ways of thinking toward the future of education. Thank you.
Delegate of Poland, you have 1.5 minutes to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear chairpersons, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, due to the increasing number of COVID-19 cases in Poland, the Ministry for National Education issued a regulation on the temporary suspension of the functioning of education institutes, lasting from 12 to 25 March 2020, and conduct distance learning from 25 March till 24 May. Schools adopted online assessments, but some students did not score well because some of them did not have access to the online resources related to each subject. While others had working parents who worked for long hours, or their babies had babies to take care of because kindergartens are closed, so they had no time to supervise their child's schoolwork. The delegate of Poland recommends the Ministry for National Education to first provide students with free access to all online resources. Second, reopen kindergartens for children whose parents do not have the opportunity to combine work and home care, so parents could have more time to supervise their child's learning process. Thank you.
Delegate of Sierra Leone, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now. Dear Chairpersons, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 has changed the world with effects that we did not understand from the very beginning. The government of Sierra Leone closed almost everything just to protect its citizens: the malls, cinemas, shopping areas, parks, etc. Even after all that, we still must study online. In Sierra Leone, students have stopped learning face to face. Just 1 week after schools were closed, the government was able to provide the radio teaching program as distance education alternative. Sierra Leone broadcasts 1 hour lessons, of which 30 minutes are dedicated to teaching, while the other 30 minutes is to students to call in a toll-free line to be engaged with their teachers. When COVID-19 hit, the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education adapted its school safety protocols. All primary and secondary schools have been equipped with hygiene and safety products such as face masks, soaps, buckets, thermometers, etc. The system was more resilient, as evidenced by the radio teaching program, which complements regular schooling. It allowed for learning to happen beyond the school mode. Also, the system was more equitable as support to grow other vulnerable students. The delegate of Sierra Leone recommended the ministry should ensure schools are safe for opening and that students and teachers have much needed teaching and learning materials. Thank you. Delegate of Sudan, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear chairpersons, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, just like any other country, Sudan closed all schools during COVID-19 pandemic and they turned to distance learning. The problem was on account of movement restrictions and lockdown. Students stopped going to schools and people started to lose their jobs. Families were not able to provide all their children with the technology needed to continue the virtual learning process. So they took them out from school in order not to pay school fees and save money. The delegate of Sudan seeks that the government provides financial support for families with no income, so they'll be able to pay school fees and their children could have technologies needed for distance learning, require from schools to lower school fees, and not allow any family to withdraw students from school by spreading awareness that education is important for everyone under any circumstances. Thank you.
Delegate of Thailand, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear Chairperson, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic has made substantial impact on every aspect, one of which is education. Schools reopened with preventive measures. Thailand prepared itself to bring about online learning platform solutions to help tackle the COVID problem. Despite of the vaccine, which might help to cure this COVID-19 disease, eventually we must still be resilient. Applying knowledge is the key to educational provision, and students cannot stop learning. Hence, we will ensure that our students will continue to access quality learning effectively during the postponement of the school reopening. It is no secret that inequality is an issue in Thailand. The gap between the haves and have-nots extends into the education system. While students in wealthy international schools in Bangkok will likely have the e-learning tools necessary to turn the COVID disruption into nothing. Many Thai students, after all, do not own laptops with state-of-the-art video conferencing software. The delegate of Thailand recommends supporting teachers by providing them with the training, learning materials, and technology necessary to deliver education effectively and, most importantly, master high-impact teaching practices, such as inquiry and project-based learning that enable students to engage actively with materials, ask questions, and find their own solutions to problems. Thank you.
Delegate of Tunisia, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear Chairperson, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, The COVID 19 crisis in Tunisia quickly raised awareness for the usefulness of digital tools in the transmission of knowledge. The ministry asked the Virtual University of Tunisia to facilitate this. Faced with this unprecedented crisis, the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research proclaimed the end of face to face lessons and asked the teachers to develop distance educational support for students. Access to the university's platform was given to all students and teachers. Courses and teaching materials from different Tunisian university institutions have been pooled, demonstrating a high level of cooperation. Free connection to the UVT platform for students following an agreement with national telephone operators also makes it easier for students to access this platform. Several tools were used in distance education, such as the UVT platform or the classroom platform, as well as video conferencing applications to facilitate synchronous meetings with students. These tools offer students the opportunity to ask their questions and interaction with their colleagues and teachers. The Delegate of Tunisia recommends that to facilitate the continuity of education is that the Tunisian administration should switch to digital administration and deliver various services via internet. Thank you for your time.
Delegate of Venezuela, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now. Delegate of Venezuela, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear Chairperson, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Venezuelan schools have been closed since March 16, 2020. UNESCO reported that Venezuelan students are affected by school closures, both primary and high schools. The Ministry of Education responded to the emergency with a program Each Family is a School. Classes were broadcast on TV and radio, and education materials were distributed online. But were those decisions affected? How did it serve children's needs? A study had asked 13 experts in education policy to address education during the pandemic in Venezuela. They agree that remote learning is the safest way. However, considering the country's education system weakness, remote learning can deepen inequalities. As the junior ambassador, I am insisting on the active role of civilized society and the charitable organization around the world to provide the students, especially from poor families, with the needed supplies to be able to attend their classes online. Broadcast classes on TV will not replace the teachers' presence with the students. We are just asking to have a right to have a proper education. It is so sad to see children who are not able to learn and having almost 2 years of our lives wasted at home. It is our future. We should all help. Thank you.
Delegate of Zambia, you have 1 minute and a half to say your opening speech. Your time starts now.
Dear Chairperson, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Zambia, like many other developing countries, is making a serious attempt to address itself to the challenges of the old and new problems with educational problems. Since March 18, 2020, when Zambia recorded the first case of COVID-19 education for more than 4.4 million children and adolescents got disrupted, potentially regressing progress made in attaining sustainable development. Goal number 4, including the attainment of high-quality primary and secondary education, the government of the Republic of Zambia has developed an education contingency plan to respond and mitigate the impacts of COVID-19 on learners. Online learning platforms and accessing lessons on television and local radio stations are currently supporting continuity of learning for children in non-examination classes that are still not able to access schools. However, some areas, the lack of electricity to power electronic gadgets further reduces access to distance learning platforms currently made available. The risk of gaps widening in learning is higher now among children from families that can afford and those that cannot afford to access facilities that enable distance learning modalities. The Delegate of Zambia recommend that to overcome these problems, the Zambian government should train teachers not only in providing support and promoting engagement with students through distance learning, and also on using simple technologies to monitor students' performance, helping those at risk of dropping out of school. Thank you.
Dr. Ekatrini, the President of Education Subcommittee of the Greek Society of Doha, will give a word.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again. It's been really interesting hearing what the ambassadors had to say about the countries that they represented. I'm going to draw on two big things, if you like. I'm going to draw on the positives and what we've learned for ourselves and our ability to adapt as humans, our resilience. And I think children are particularly good at that, even better than adults. I mean, I think speaking about myself, and I have an 8-year-old son who's been home learning, blended learning, hybrid learning, and all the lot during this pandemic. He's been taking it on the chin. Of course, it's not easy, but they adapt. I think adults, we are a little bit harder to adapt. And I think children give us a good example of how to take things as they come, be resilient, and go with it, and do the best you can do, and be the best you can be. Of course, it's not fun to do school through Zoom. Of course, it's not fun to not be able to play with your friends or even be told off in classroom, oh, don't touch each other or don't sit too close to each other. But what I see in front of me, in you, giving us these beautiful summaries for the countries you represent, are children who are brave, who have exceeded in the expectations of adapting to this new environment that we have to be in, and children that can find pleasure even in difficult times. Okay, you've adapted the way you play with each other, you've adapted the way you communicate with each other, and you're doing the best you can do given what has been handed to us, really. So well done, all of you, for doing that, and for doing that for a very long time, 1.5 years now. 1.5 years in your lives is a huge amount of time, okay? So well done doing that. You're excellent examples of how humans thrive and how humans survive. The other thing that comes out is, sadly, the divide between the more privileged and the less privileged, the more disadvantaged children or populations on Earth. And we do see that the children that come from developing countries, from rural areas, from more difficult situations, they are the ones that are probably suffering the most in losing out in education. So the barriers there are greater. Technology, as my fellow parent, I'm not a parent of a student in your school, but I'm a parent of a student in another school. Dr. Hussain, I see your last name, I think, on the video. He mentioned, technology is a blessing. It's here and it can help us, and it helps us today be together, and we're all in different places. But if you don't have access to this technology, then of course this is costing more in your education. It's disadvantaging you more. And what we've seen today is that, unfortunately, children less lucky than you guys in your lovely school, children in areas of the world that suffer due to various reasons, due to conflict, due to poverty, due to various reasons, they are the children that are, unfortunately, are falling even more behind. These barriers are real and are there. So I think what we need to be thinking about all along is, how can we help? Because we're all together in this world, and I think the pandemic has made us even more aware that we cannot say, oh, I'm going to save myself. It doesn't work this way. We need to help each other, and we all need to save each other in order for all of us to be free of COVID. So I'm going to take a moment to think, how can we help those that are less privileged than us to participate in education? We know that education is very important in allowing us to have a better life, a better future, to support not only our families but our communities. So I'm gonna urge you to think about those that are less privileged and the ways we can help. I know, I mean, even in developed countries, you have areas that are less privileged. So as part of my work in the UK, we do a lot of research in education in an area of the UK that is actually quite disadvantaged. And a lot of the children in that area lack access to internet. They don't have the same access to facilities like in other areas. So what schools in those areas actually did, because the children might not have a laptop to access the online lesson, the schools actually photocopied material and hand delivered. They went door to all the students in their area to provide this material. So the children, even though they didn't have internet connection or they didn't have a laptop to connect to the class, they had the materials and they could work at home. Is it ideal? No, but it is something. So closing it all today on my behalf, I would say thank you for being bright examples of how we continue life even when difficulties arise. And thank you for being so perceptive to the difficulties that children in other countries might face, and for being appreciative of what you in your life have. Thank you for having me here.
His Excellency, the Ambassador of Nepal, will deliver a word.
Thank you. Respected Chairperson, distinguished guests, young ambassador delegates, I'm really pleased and delighted to be with you today in this very important conference in which you have brought forth very bright ideas which are useful to face the problem the world is facing today. As part of humanity, you young members of society have equal responsibility to face with the challenges of the world. We are living through a period which humanity had not experienced in 100 years. This is really a grave crisis, and we are fighting together to overcome this and preserve the beauty of humanity. Even in the past, humanity had faced similar crises, similar pandemics, and similar calamities, but our ancestors were able to face it and find a way forward. And we are confident that this crisis will also be overcome, and the great truth of human superiority will be established again. You are studying in schools and colleges. Schools and other institutes of learning are microcosm of social realities. What you learn in the schools will come of use in society when you grow adult. You will learn many interpersonal social skills in the school. You learn communication. You learn the value of sharing. You learn the diversity, and most importantly, the art of coexistence.
Today, the world is riven apart along racialism, religion, and many sectarian ideas and belief system that has created great difficulties for the human being. We have to learn to love and appreciate diversity because the nature has not prescribed homogeneity. It has created a diverse existence, including the human society. We look at the rainbow color and get thrilled with it. Likewise, the different social existences, different ethnicities, different racial groups of people constitute humanity. We have to learn to appreciate the beauty of diversity. Only then will we be able to create a peaceful society and live a worthy life in the future. I am a diplomat. I work to build bridges among nations. I mend fences between countries. I find common grounds in areas of controversy and differences. And then the possibility of living together, working together, and facing the global problem together becomes possible. Today, the humanity is facing the great crisis posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, but the unified effort and concerted contribution from scientists, intellectuals, artists, and other communities have created a condition in which we can say that we will overcome the challenges posed by the pandemic and will be able to return to the normal life again in the near future. The beautiful ideas you have expressed and the optimism you have expressed about the life and peaceful existence of societies is very important. You represent the whole social reality, and your ideas, your learning, and your communication skills will have a lot in the way of solving our problems. But you should not think that the sophistication, machines, and artificial intelligence alone is everything. Our mind is the most advanced, most sophisticated machine which has limitless possibilities. In schools, you should learn to open up your mind, find the possibilities to explore the limitless potentialities that your mind holds to solve the problem of the society. You are really the bright stars of the future who will shine in the vast sky of social realities tomorrow. I wish you every success and hope that you will be able to join the school again in person and continue with your contribution to create richer and more creative human society. With this, I would like to conclude my remarks and wish you good luck again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, His Ambassador. Thank you so much.
Now the closure speech by Al Dafna campus.
Good afternoon. Greetings, all of you. As we reach the end of today's event, I'd like to thank you all for taking an interest in this conference, Access to Education in a Post-COVID World. Your presence and involvement demonstrate your sincere trust in our efforts. I hope you all have enjoyed the Manar International School's Junior Ambassador Conference. Your presence encouraged us to do our best in order to meet your expectations. Yet, we cannot let this event reach its end without thanking some important individuals who have helped in making this event fruitful and special. First, we would like to express our gratitude towards our country, Qatar, for hosting this event. We are so thankful that we are in a country that both our right to learn and our right to be safe were granted. The pandemic was starting in the country. First priority was the safety of children, but at the same time, the process of learning in Qatar had never stopped. Thus, I would like to thank Al Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Emir of the State of Qatar, for his efforts in protecting the children's rights, ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education, in addition to also ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being for all its ages. Goals 3 and 4 of the United Nations Development Sustainable Goals, and we would never forget to thank him for his kindness in helping others in need. Secondly, I'd like to thank Mr. Yusuf Al-Jassim for giving us the opportunity to do such a wonderful conference in such a lovely atmosphere. I'd like to say, without your support and trust in our dreams, this would never have become possible. I'd like to thank the organizers and the planners who not only planned and organized this event, but also monitored everything with such enthusiasm. A special thanks to our great principals, Ms. Iman Taha, Ms. Subayya Khan, and Mr. Matthew Michael Rose, Ms. Marwa Yunus, Ms. Ala Yunus, and Ms. Rima As-Saleh. We cannot also forget to thank our beloved teachers. They were really behind most of the success in this event. All the teachers around the world, we appreciate your efforts and care during this time of remote learning. Thank you to everyone who is stepping up to ensure the students are staying healthy and safe and continuing to learn. During COVID-19, we equally appreciate the invisible hands that worked hard to make this event successful, and they are our school. ITs, Mr. Saif, Mr. Anas, and Mr. Rabi. Let's not forget Ms. Sinda as well. Also, we must thank Mr. Salah for following up with the needed materials. I can't end this magnificent event without thanking the building block of this event, our beloved students for their efforts, spirit, and hard work. All of you have been wonderful. All the parts of today's conference, from the speeches to the lovely videos, debates, everything has been great and all of us have enjoyed it. I would like to thank all the visitors, Dr. Ala Hussein, first time, assisting the students and listening to them. Thanks to Dr. Ekaterina, Associate Professor of Cognitive Neuroscience and Neuropsychology and Chair of Education Subcommittee and Greek Society of Doha. All the ambassadors and the parents who have a lot of faith in our school, and we equally trust and commit ourselves to keep working in hand with them. It's been an honor to be among such accomplished individuals and to be able to present this event before you all. Thank you and have a good day, inshallah.
Okay, Ms. Rinda, I'm sorry for that. Ms. Rinda is apologizing because she doesn't have a mic and access to the mic. She is the first secretary of the Embassy of Thailand. Okay, and really thank you for being a part of this event, and thank you all for your effort.
Now we will declare the announcement. We will start with Al Dafna campus. Ms. Iman, please announce the three winners: Best Speech, Best Delegate, Best Problem Solver.
Okay, for Daphne campus, I actually delegate this part to our coordinator, the JC, and I guess they actually worked hard. So they chose three names: Best Delegate, Ranud; Best Problem Solver,
Thank you so much.
Dana; Best Speech, Khulud. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Next,
very welcome.
Next, Al Thamid campus. Ms. Sobia, please announce the three winners: Best Speech, Best Delegate, Best Problem Solver.
Hello, kids, delegates,
our respectful guests, fellow principals, and our coordinators. Thank you very much for your efforts. It is clear that you have all worked very hard, and how you have grown from this event. And as our distinguished guests shared, that have all learned the importance of cooperation, relations, and trust that we must have in each other to fight this pandemic. I am very pleased to announce the winners from Al-Tamid, although I feel like it was a very difficult decision. But for best speech, our delegate that had the best speech is Layal Uthman. Congratulations, Layal. Well done. We are very proud of you. For best delegate, Muhammad Al Yafi. Congratulations. Well done. And for best problem solver from Al-Tamid is Judy. I congratulate you all and wish you all a very happy holiday. Well done, kids. Thank you.
Finally, LSAT Campus. Mr. Matthew, please announce the three winners. Best speech, best delegate, best problem solver.
Okay, am I unmuted here? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So you caught me a little bit off guard because I didn't catch from the coordinator whether it was going to be announcing for all of the campuses or if I'm only allowed to select people from the SOD campus. All right.
Should only select the winners from LSAT Campus.
Okay. Then in that case, for the best speech, I would select Lynn for the best speech. All right. Then for the best problem solver, I would select her brother, Rani. And for the best delegate, I honestly thought we were collaborating. I can defer this to Miss Lana from our. How about no? Actually, no. Fuad. I will pick Fuad. I thought we were going to collaborate before we selected. I'm sorry. No one informed me that I had to make these decision on this. So that'll be those will be the decisions for now. Okay. I wasn't clear what the rules were going in. No one shared that, but thank you.
Congratulations to all winners. We are very happy to have you attending this event. Thank you. See you next year.
Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us this year in the JAC. Thank you for all the visitors, the participants who participate in the JAC. We do appreciate your time, and thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. Well done, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Iman. Thank you, everybody, and have a nice day ahead.
Thank you all. Happy New
Thank you, everyone. See you next year. See you next year. Goodbye. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.